Coming to you from an undisclosed location in the state of Fort Collins, a couple of guys talking about CSU, Fort Collins, and whatever else comes to mind. It's better than The Matrix Reloaded, not quite as good as Hot Shots Part 2. Here is the Ramsanity Show with your hosts V and Harris.
Hey, what's up, Ram Country? This is V.
And I'm Harris.
Welcome to another episode of the Ramsanity Show. What's up, Harris?
Not a lot, man, but I got to say, buddy, you know who's not a dude? Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
He has made CSU fans just squeal with joy for the last few days. So it has been a wonderful ride on that roller coaster.
It's been pretty entertaining. I had to turn off my notifications on Twitter because my phone kept blowing up.
Yeah, I kept using the Ramsanity account to tweet and talk about the Mel Tucker situation, and it was just glorious over the last few days.
Yeah. Yep, that's been fun. So, we just saw each other. So for you listeners, we're recording a little bit early just because of the way our schedule has worked out with this guest. I'm pretty excited about this guest.
You've been psyched about this guest for 2 or 3 weeks. We had schedules booked out for guests, and you're like, no. We're bumping somebody, or we're double dipping on episodes in a week so that we can make sure we get this dude in here.
And you'll understand why it was vitally important for us to get him on. And let's just say, if you have been to any games in the last 3 years, right? 3 years, 3 years, especially this year, last year, whether it's football, men's basketball. I don't know if you attend anything else. You can tell us here in a little bit. But definitely men's basketball and football, right? You know this kid.
He's definitely a meme, that's for sure, for CSU.
I mean, he literally, and it's cool because, you know, I want to get that meme because it's awesome. It's so cool.
I'm pretty sure we can probably make that happen fairly easily. We can talk to some people.
Without further ado, we want to introduce you to Cameron Naseman. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
So Cameron, he for you listeners, if you don't know the name, obviously, he is the fan that every single football game, he's shirtless in the student section, riling up the crowd. He has his own meme, and he's also in the student section at the basketball games. So
yes, he is. Yeah.
Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So Cameron, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what year you are, all that good stuff.
So I'm a third-year health and exercise science major up here, concentration-wise health promotion from Highlands Ranch, Colorado. So yeah,
cool. And you live on? Well, it's not. Is that technically on campus?
It's not technically on campus, but it's close enough to campus that I consider it on campus. So
well, and yeah, when I picked you up, I was like, wow, there is zero excuse. Right, to not go to any games.
No, there's not.
I mean, short of if you got a late class or something, right? But I mean, you're right there. So you were telling last night you were at the game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you were saying you just rode your bike over and you're there.
I mean, I ride my bike everywhere on campus. I ride it, to class, to the gym, to games. Even ride it over to get haircuts and stuff over by King Soopers on Taft. So. That's my main form of transportation up here.
That is a respectable bike ride there to go get a haircut.
It's not as bad as you'd think. It's only like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, doesn't feel like 15 minutes, that's for sure.
Especially this time of year.
This time of year, it feels more like 20, 25, depending on what the weather actually is.
Yeah.
So how do you like living where you live? Did you have, obviously, when you were a freshman, you lived in dorms.
Yeah, I lived in Corbett when I was a freshman.
Okay,
yeah.
and then where'd you move after that?
After my freshman year, I've been living in that same apartment complex, Stadium Apartments, since last year. So it's been easy. I haven't had to move out and deal with a 2-week period from when leases end to when you can actually move into the new apartments. Because the way they do it up here, it's pretty much that your leases expire on like the 31st of July, and then you don't move in until the 14th or so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
August with new apartment complexes.
Well, and that was always my beef with, in general, moving out of places, right? You moved out on the 31st. You don't get your keys till the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So then what am I doing with my stuff for, a day?
I'm renting a U-Haul, and I'm locking it in there for the night.
Yeah. So at those apartments, are they fully furnished, or are they kind of, how's that work?
So they're fully furnished. You get, in the bedrooms, you get a mattress. You get, like, kind of a mattress stand, if that's what it's called. And then you get like a nightstand, desk, and chair.
Okay.
And then you get your own bathroom, or at least in mine, you get your own bathroom attached to it. So, and then in the living room, you get like couch and
Common living room there,
Yeah.
and then kitchen's fully furnished, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, kitchen's fully furnished. Pretty good appliances too.
Do you guys have to provide your own TVs and stuff, or how's that like? If you want one in your bedroom, probably.
Yeah, if you want your own TV in your bedroom, you have to bring your own. If you want one in like the main common area, then you got to bring your own. So
Gotcha. Okay. And then as far as roommates, so you knew these guys that you moved in with now, or will they assign you roommates too if you need?
So last year, I lived with one of my good friends from freshman year, and we didn't have anyone else to live with, so they assigned us with 2 grad transfer football players, KJ Carter Samuels, who was a starting quarterback last year for a period of time, and then also VJ Banks. But this year, they moved out, and so then I got assigned with 2 random girl roommates. So that's how it's been so far this year compared to last year.
How's that been going from living with guys to girls? Are they like messy, and are they super like? Are you guys messy and they're like, keep this clean?
It's been interesting. It's a very different type of lifestyle when you have 2 23, 24-year-old guys living in the house to then 2 like 19-year-old women who at least were in sororities at one point in time. So it's definitely a big kind of shift, but with how home life was, like my dad was always pretty clean about stuff, so I've just kind of like grabbed onto that, and that's kind of been my thing. So like I'm pretty good about like cleaning stuff up in or like living room, kitchen, that kind of thing.
Yeah, common areas at least.
Yeah.
Right on.
So are any of your roommates ready to move out yet? We're almost halfway through the spring semester. I mean, there's some of you who are probably like, I'm never living with this person ever again.
I don't know if they're necessarily eager to move out. I think they're more eager to, be done with school. Even though it's only been 4 weeks. I mean, it's kind of how I am. I'm like, I'm in some challenging classes. I'm like, gosh, I just want to get to summer. I want to be out of this. I want to get to summer. I want to get to football season starting back up again because basketball is almost ending here soon in the next month and a half.
So with that, you said, right now your main your main mode of transportation is your bike around up here, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do for summer? So once school's out, are you going back home? Do you stay up here? Like what do you kind of do for?
So last summer, what I did was I stayed up here and I took a few summer classes as well as worked up here over the summer. This year, I might try to get my personal trainer certification over the summer and also just stay working at the same job I'm at. But I haven't really thought that far ahead. I'm just trying to kind of focus on here and the now with spring semester.
Cool. And where do you work?
I work at a CSU Surplus property. So,
Surplus, one of our favorite places on campus. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you think you can find, we most likely have it.
I have stadium chairs from Moby Arena upstairs in my garage from Surplus.
We get a lot of cool CSU memorabilia sometimes.
How long have you worked there?
I've worked there since last September.
Okay. So for you, and we'll get into your kind of diehard fandom here in a little bit, but for you, what do you feel like is the coolest thing that you've come across or seen come through that you were like, okay, I need X number of dollars right now to be able to get this if I could?
I mean, honestly, it might have to be the actual like game-worn like old Ag Day jerseys with the like Aggies across the front of it before they did the whole like rebranding thing with the whole Colorado State on the front with the Ag Day jerseys. Yeah, that was a pretty good deal for me. It was $10 for an actual game-worn jersey compared to when you got ones that the bookstores sell for like $80.
I've got a few of those upstairs, but if you ever tried to put those on, those things are not meant for normal humans without pads on because they're so tight.
Or I meant basketball jerseys.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the football jerseys.
I might have messed up. My bad.
No.
But yeah, no, the basketball jersey, man, that's probably
well. Regardless, too, we don't have the physique of a junior in college anymore.
Studying HES and personal training, that is not me. I'm studying glue and fat.
Right on. Okay, you got any other questions before we move on here?
What brought you to CSU? That's kind of one of our staple questions we have to ask everyone.
So it's just kind of been how I've been born and raised. I mean, my mom and my dad both went here. My father was a graduate in 94 and my mother was a graduate in 95. And so they've been taking me up to games and stuff ever since I was a little kid. I don't remember how many weeks old, but like relatively like a few weeks old. So it's just kind of been my thing. Like, we'd come up here for games, gotten, lunch at Pickle Barrel before the game, then gone over to Hughes, and it was just kind of the way that things were on Saturdays.
So you were raised in it. I like it. Okay.
I was, and I would not change that.
So was it when it was time for school, right, to pick your college, start applying? I mean, was this the one and only place, or did you apply for a couple and kind of pad it?
Oh, no. As soon as applications opened for my class, I applied immediately. It was the only school I applied to. I was like, Mom, Dad, if I get in, there's no need to waste money on admission fees for applications to, other schools. I'm like, if I get in here, I'm going here. There's no question about that.
That's great.
Well, at CSU, they make it pretty obvious if you're going to get in. If you have the right grades and the right test score, you're pretty close to guaranteed to get in, and you've taken the right background classes. And
yeah, the thing was too, I also went to a pretty good high school too in South Denver, so that also probably helped prepare me a lot for getting in from a, GPA and just kind of experience standpoint.
Now, Harris, let me ask you this. I know, obviously, sororities and fraternities automatically, right? If your parents were brothers and sisters, were in one, right? You're guaranteed, right?
Legacy.
So, right. So, does CSU kind of favor that too, or do universities in general?
So I took some time working a little bit with the admissions department when I was on campus. This was maybe 10 or 12 years ago now. But there is a certain thing they look at. CSU looks at the whole student, not just the grades and test scores and class scores, but also what they're going to bring to the university and the student population as a whole. But they do look at a little bit of your legacy status, your folks are both alumni. That is something that's definitely a carrot in your favor. But if you've got the grades and the test scores and, you've got the other stuff, it's not going to be the thing that's putting you over the top, but it's going to help a little bit.
Right on. So now that you're in Fort Collins, okay, this is another question we always ask everybody. What is your one thing about Fort Collins that you love that makes this home for you?
The stereotypical answer is CSU, but I don't know. It's always been pretty much a second home. Whenever it wasn't Highlands Ranch, it was always Fort Collins. So there's just something about it here that ties in a lot with family and that kind of aspect of it. So
cool.
I'm going to ask you the typical old person question. So, son, what are your plans after you graduate?
My main goal, assuming everything works out perfectly, is to become a strength and conditioning coach for hopefully a collegiate level team or a professional. But, I'm taking it in stride. I'm not too set on just going into that, but that's what my ideal goal would be to do.
Okay, cool. Yeah. The internship talk, and I'm sure that's the next thing everyone says. Have you talked to the strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely looking forward to having the opportunity of doing. So.
Yeah, just because you're doing some of the things with the athletic department, that's one of those ins you might have, with some connections you've made based on your experience and kind of your passion about the team and the athletic department.
Yeah, hopefully everything just works out as it should. There's no point in stressing over things that I can't necessarily control. So chips are going to fall where they will, and I'll just roll with them. So
well, and that's a good segue. So let's move on to this. So as we mentioned earlier, you're at every single game, right? You're in the front row, right, leading that charge. Okay,
yeah.
And you kind of mentioned somebody last night after the game that you were hanging out with. Do you want to mention who you were hanging out with?
Yeah, no. Last night I was just playing video games with Nico after the game was over. So, yeah, Nico's one of my good friends. Great kid.
Carvacho or Medved?
Carvacho. Carvacho.
Because that'd be an interesting hang.
It would to say the least.
And then, we were talking kind of that, you've got the meme out there, right? Is there more than one, or is it just the one of you flexing and, I think you have your beanie on, right? Telling everybody.
There's multiple memes. There's not one specific
they've made a few.
meme. Yeah.
Can you describe the main one to us?
The main one is just, I think it was Utah. Yeah, it was a Utah State game from last year over Thanksgiving break that was
in the snow.
Yeah, it should have been a win, but, things happen the way they do. But, yeah, no, it was Utah State game. Yeah, camera just came on me, and I was just cold, so I was like, all right, I'm going to get some energy out. I'm on the big screen. So I just did, this whole, flex thing. And, yeah, it just kind of got turned into a meme at Moby for, a Make Loud clip. And, yeah, the rest is history, I guess.
You're CSU famous now.
I get recognized by people more often than I would expect.
Which shows how small a community like CSU and Fort Collins are. Like, hey, I know you.
Which is a good thing. I feel like that's one of the things that makes CSU what it is.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that though? Like when, I mean, obviously you're at every game, right? And you don't necessarily care that you're up there, right?
No, I
but
don't.
And I mean, when the camera gets on you, especially at Moby, right? You're all up in it. But like when they do throw that meme up there, you like, is that a little? I mean, are you like, yeah, that's me, or is it a little kind of embarrassing? And you're like, oh, like you shy a little.
It's not embarrassing. It's a whole kind of mix of everything else. So it's like I just laugh it off because it's funny, and then it's like, you know what? That's just kind of like the role I accept now. I'm just get loud guy. I'm just crazy shirtless man.
It's pretty cool, man. I mean, like I said, when we kept seeing it up, and I was like, we have got to have him on because you're literally at every single game, right? And so, speaking of that, so besides football and basketball, do you go to any other of the sporting events or?
Every now and then, a lot of the time it's just about also trying to keep a balance between, going to sporting events and also still remembering why I'm there to focus on my education.
Right, studying.
So, I mean, men's basketball and football are the two of the main things. I mean, I haven't missed a football game. Even showdowns, I haven't missed any of those. Haven't missed a basketball game this year, home or away, from a watching standpoint. And I think I only missed, 2 men's basketball games last year because I was sick. So
did you say home or away?
Yeah, like I watch the away games on TV.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Do you travel to any of the games?
I want to, but the whole car thing makes it hard. I mean, I tried to get my dad to go with me to the Wyoming game this year for football, but just kind of didn't work out.
Yeah.
But
if you can make that happen, my father and I go to all of the CSU Wyoming games every year, and it's one of those cool traditions we have. Totally work on that one with your old man. That is a cool thing that I cherish with my father.
Hopefully that's a good thing me and him can get done my last year here. So
cool. Well, V, you ready to move on to the next subject?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So go ahead.
What do we got?
We're going to talk about, so this is kind of a CSU-ish topic, right? So we kind of want to get the glimpse of a life of a student in 2020, okay? So, I mean, obviously schedule and workload and things like that are pretty similar, okay? But, I mean, you want to help me out here? Where are we going with this?
Yeah, what is life like for a modern college student? We're both 20-ish years older than you, so we've CSU for us was a little different than it is now.
We went to college before the internet was invented.
Yeah, we didn't have Wi-Fi. How about that?
yeah.
Seriously, okay? Go ahead.
I mean, it's interesting to say the least. I mean, it depends on kind of who your, I guess, kind of clique is. I mean, there's like not really cliques, but there's like a whole kind of general overscope of the type of things that you do. Depends. I mean, during the weekdays, everyone's for the most part focused on school, but when it hits weekends and stuff, football, people go to football games at least for the first half of them before it then gets they're either too far over the top from a drinking standpoint and they don't want to stay anymore, or because it's too cold or it's a late game and then they leave at halftime. But yeah, if you're 21, you pretty much go to the bars like Yeti, Bondi, Rec, those types. If you're a woman and you're not old enough to go to the bars, you go to whatever party you can find. As a guy, you just have to either be in a frat to get into those parties or just be really close with the people hosting them. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends on who you know and just what it is that you like to do.
I lived on Campus West for almost a decade after school and everything, and that's one thing I've noticed that's changed in the last maybe 10 years is there's so many less house parties in Campus West than there used to be. To put it in some perspective, you could go down that little Campus West neighborhood and just walk into almost every other house and find a party on any Friday or Saturday night. And now you're hard-pressed to find a single one in one of those houses.
Yeah, I was going to say, we used to crash parties all the time, right? I mean, we wouldn't know anybody. And to this day, actually, I remember one of them, me and a handful of my friends went to it. And you kind of hear that there might be a party somewhere, right? And we showed up, and there was like 4 people there. And he's like, I was just having some of my friends over. Who are you guys, right? They're playing a certain game in the garage, right? And so we hung out, and he's still one of my best friends to this day. right? But it's like you're saying. I mean, you could literally go around any of that, even City Park-ish area.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think right after we graduated, V, and kind of left school, the city turned the noise violations from a civil complaint into a criminal complaint. So now it goes on your criminal record that you have a noise complaint. Before, it was literally a $100 fine if you got a noise complaint. So somebody would be like, okay, we got a noise violation, pass the cup around, pass the cup, and you'd walk out with $200, even though your ticket was going to be $100.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is now, though, too, right? I think you can register your party online beforehand.
Yeah, you can register your party through Off-Campus Life, and I think the way that works is for the first noise complaint you get, you'll get a call from the police, and then it'll just kind of be shut it down, and then so you pretty much just get a warning before they actually just come and straight up roll the party. So.
I remember in those house parties, we would host them at my house many times. We knew the cops by first name basis. He's like, hey, Aaron, hey, Adam, to the police officer. And he goes, time to shut it down. Okay, see you later, Adam. See you next week. And we didn't get a ticket until maybe the 30th time that had gone on. I'm guessing that's not quite the same right now.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I don't know how it was from a general public community standpoint compared to college students and just families in general. But I feel like nowadays there's just so many more families in Fort Collins that, even if you're a college student who owns a house, I mean, your neighbors are most likely either going to be, college students or in most cases families. And I mean, I feel like that's why, especially nowadays, you can go to a party and within 15, 20 minutes of you getting there or it actually starting, cops already show up and it's gone.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like that happened.
No, that definitely did not happen.
I feel like, and I think you're kind of right. I mean, back then there was definitely more pockets of, hey, these 2, 3, 4 houses were all college kids, right? And then there was but the other nice thing was too, depending, I mean, you could just go to your neighbor and be like, hey, we're going to have a party, right? Let us know if it gets too loud. Don't just call the cops. Yeah. Let us know, so.
Yeah, that has definitely changed, the culture-wise. What else is college like? What were dorms like now? Now they're fairly nice. Is that correct?
Depends on the dorm you're in.
Okay.
I mean, with Corbett, it was pretty nice. I mean, it's pretty good for a dorm. I mean, you go into college and you live in a dorm, you don't really expect that much. You're like, okay, I'll either have a bathroom that's adjoined with the room and suite mates that share it, or I'll have to go down the hall to go to the bathroom. I mean, it's basic living. It's just enough to, give you a place to live. I mean, you got a bed that's twin size and you got a desk pretty much, and that's it in the room. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little different than when we were in school and you could smoke and drink in the dorms.
Yeah, literally definitely cannot do that nowadays.
No, and they will catch you pretty quickly if you did either of those two activities.
So because technically Stadium Apartments, I mean, it's not on campus, right? Quote unquote on campus.
No.
So I mean, if you're 21, you can do whatever you want in your room, right?
So if you're
your apartment,
you're technically not. They changed it this last year. Last year it used to be just no smoking, and then this current year they changed it to where it's no smoking or vaping. So you can't smoke in your apartment, but if you're 21, you can still bring alcohol into it and that kind of thing.
Are they fairly strict on that, or do they not really care?
I'm not sure. I've never really had any problem with anything like that, but I feel like it just depends on kind of
he's heard from friends.
He's heard from. Yeah, you're right. Under the advice of his legal counsel, he's not going to answer that question.
Yes, the legal counsel, mom and dad.
Yeah. I'm guessing your folks might listen to this now.
I'm going to try to pitch it to them to listen to this. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. He's a good student. He's getting straight A's this semester.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's awesome, man. So do you feel? I guess. So one of the things I remember, kind of in general, campus is massive, right? And I remember when we were there, you were able to drive through it a little bit more, right? So Meridian
was a street you could drive through. You could also
Lake. You could go all the way through Lake.
You could go. Yeah, you can still go all the way through Lake, can't you? No.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can.
What's the street up?
Pitkin.
Okay, and
you could our first year you could go through there, and then they cut it off with that giant weird art thing in the middle of the chemistry building.
Yeah.
But so now, and I guess I don't really know, but you've got your bike.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use a scooter? Do you ever get a wild hair and take advantage of that, or even around town, or what's?
I've used it once,
Okay.
and that will be the last
Yeah?
time I use it. Yeah, I went. It was, I think, during the fall. I think it was for the Fresno State game. I took one of those bird scooters over to Pickle Barrel to get game food because I'm superstitious. I'm like, all right, for every football game, I gotta have Pickle Barrel.
Okay.
So I went and took the bird scooter over to Pickle Barrel. Yeah, it was like $12 for there and back. I was like,
Never
bike's
again.
free, bike's free, and yeah.
And
so,
Fort Collins is relatively flat. Like, that's not that big of a struggle on your bike.
no, it's not.
And honestly, I mean, yeah, even though it's a bit of a jaunt, even a walk or a run, isn't that big of a deal. But that's funny that you said that about. Do you feel like you would do that, though? I mean, like you said, taking it to get your haircut.
Yeah,
Or not
I mean,
because you're like, it's like $12. No, I'm going to save $12 and I'll just ride my bike.
it's just more about the time of it. It's like I'd rather spend 5 minutes biking to class as opposed to 20 walking all the way across campus. It's just more of a time thing in my mind.
Right. Okay. Any other questions about
I mean, he's essentially living my life right now. I mean, I don't get outside that range either of anywhere, except I have a car and drive everywhere because I have children and I'm old.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you and I are living some very similar lives.
Well, and I do feel like, okay, so a lot of your friends do have, they're older or have vehicles, right? Not on campus, but live off of campus, right? So do you get, out of that area much, or do you really kind of throughout the week, stay in that area regardless?
It's dependent on what it is that I have to do. I mean, the only times I ever really have to go further than a half mile away from campus is to go to the grocery store or to go over to a friend's house. And if I'm going to the grocery store, I'll either ride share with like Uber or Lyft, or I'll have one of my good friends give me rides to the grocery store. So, and if I'm going over to a friend's house, I mean, they'll have a car and they'll be able to pick me up.
So if you're trying to sell, part of you're talking to an incoming freshman next year, what would you say about having to own a car on campus? Because that used to be a big thing of like you bring your car to campus. And would you say that now, that you really need a car, or how would you sell that to them?
I mean, I'd say it's expensive. It's hard to find parking because parking permits on campus are relatively expensive for at least a college budget. And then, yeah, there's just not enough spaces on campus if everyone has a car. I mean, people going to classes who drive to class, that Morgan Library parking lot is full by everyone who has like 8 a.m.s. So it's just about getting lucky and finding a spot. And even then, if you have a parking pass, you might have to park south of the stadium to walk all the way over to Clark.
Well, a friend of mine who works in parking goes, it's not a parking pass, it's a hunting permit. It gives you the permission to go hunt for a parking spot, not to actually get one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember in the evenings trying to go find parking in the library. And it was like, just drive up and down and just sit there and wait till somebody left. So,
Yeah.
all right, Harris, what else you got?
If I just looked up and efforted some parking pass prices. You care to guess some parking pass prices here?
Now, is it for the season? Is it a semester per semester or per year?
This is an annual price.
Okay, so I'm going to guess it is $2,500.
That is awfully high, and it's a little higher than what they are. Care to guess again?
$1,000.
Less. See, we're giving bargains out here, left and right.
$500.
It's $569.
Wow.
Yeah, you're close enough. When I got to school there in '99, a parking permit, $75 for the year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gone up a little bit since then.
Yeah, and even then, some of those, I mean, they'll still be expensive for, parking permit for lots that allow you to park, Shield or on like Prospect and Whitcomb.
Yeah, far away.
Yeah.
That's crazy. $570 to park and take a bus to campus.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's crazy to me too that if you're faculty, right, they don't give you some sort of help assistance for that, right?
No,
So,
their parking passes are even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know, like Jess, right? She rides her bike,
Mm-hmm.
The other night when it was in a snowstorm at 11 p.m., she bundled up and was riding her bike home. So,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I will say my last few years on campus, I had a B parking permit, which, are you familiar, Cameron, with the different parking permit letters? And
Yeah.
So A is kind of that faculty staff one. B is the golden ticket. It is all faculty staff parking lots and all student parking lots. So, and they also have lots that are just for the B permits. That was pretty nice to have. And I couldn't complain about that much at all. That was a glorious thing until you saw your monthly bill come out of your paycheck for $45 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, that's the perfect time. Let's go ahead and move on to our next little thing. So, the big reason that you're here, we know that you're very passionate about some CSU sports.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So, as we mentioned, you are always in the front row, right, of that student section. And do you go by yourself? Do you go with friends? Like, what's kind of your...
I pretty much go by myself, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I mean, with football games, maybe I'll have people who I know who come late, and I'm like, I'm like right here. If you want to come hang out with me, you can. Basketball games, it's pretty much alone. I mean, I'll have friends who might come later in the game, and if there's seats open, sit next to me. But for the most part, I'm pretty much just going by myself. So,
do you try to rally people and say, like, do you have a mass text that you say, going to the game, come, or do you go and they know you're going to be there, and if they show up, they show up?
I mean, I go and people know I'll be there, but like I'll post on like my Instagram and Snapchat and stuff like that of just like, oh, like, hey, there's a basketball game, tomorrow night, 7:00, be there, that type of thing.
So, as you mentioned before, you grew up with it, right? So since day one of you being a freshman, you kind of started loving it and you went, right? What do you feel it is, though? Because, I mean, short of last night, right, it was pretty packed there.
Pretty good for a Tuesday night.
Pretty good for a Tuesday night. But short of that, like, you're just not seeing the students staying, right? I mean, or coming to those games even, as we were talking on the way here, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, at least especially when it comes to football, there's always some sort of excuse. Always. You got a 12 o'clock game in August. Oh, it's too early. It's too hot. You get a 5 o'clock game, 7 o'clock game, September. Oh, but I have this party that's going on at 10, or it's too cold, or it's just always something.
Yeah. Though, I think as you get a little older, you'll find your tribe that are really into it. I was very much a very similar student to yourself of like, I would go into every game a lot of times by myself. And then over the years, people just started clinging on and the group grew and grew. And now it's 50 people strong every game. And tailgating is now a ritual that we all do. And we just show up and everyone knows who's going to be there. You see these, we call them football friends 7 times a year. And we'll see them again next year, every game for everything. And that's a really cool experience when you get to kind of come back after, 10, 20 years of seeing the same people year in and year out and what that becomes.
Yeah. And I've definitely been around that, especially since I was over at Hughes. I mean, I think in Hughes up until a period of time, I think it was for the first definitely not the last 3 years in Hughes. So besides the last 3 years in Hughes, my family had season tickets in Section H. And then for those last 3 years, moved over to Section G. Shout out Section G if anyone watches this too. But yeah, no, Section G was always just pretty much kind of that group that you described that I was always, around when I was growing up, going to games at Hughes. So. Mm-hmm.
You will quickly find that group. Trust me, they're out there.
Well, and it's funny because that's honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat, right? For me, it was I would either there was 1 or 2 friends that would always go with me, right? Or I was like, well, I'm going to the game. If you guys want to go, you know what I mean? I'll throw it out on social media. If you want to go, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll get you a ticket and come with me. But it is one of those things that, I mean, even now I only have one. I've got my 1 season ticket just because our schedule, the way it works out. But I go by myself to the basketball games, and I know a couple people that are there that I'll see. But yeah, I still go to the basketball games by myself, even.
One of the cool things you'll find out as you get a little bit older, you'll start to meet people who are a couple years older, a couple years younger than you, and you start to realize you have so many connections because you know all of the same people. And I think that is one of the things we've both learned from doing this show. Many episodes have come by and you're like, oh, I know you from so-and-so, including our episode last week. Like you met the guests and you didn't know you knew them until they walked in the door. And you're like, oh, I know you guys.
Yeah, speaking of which, I saw Ike in Old Town today. I ran into him while I was leaving a restaurant. So
yeah.
That was kind of funny.
So it becomes a very small community and it's really cool when you stick around and kind of get to experience this. So stick with it. You will find your group.
I do fully expect, though, Cameron, that, 5-10 years from now, you're still going to be the
shirtless fan, crazy fan in the front row.
I don't know. Every good thing has to come to an end at some point. It's just a matter of when that some point is. And, I mean, at least right now, it's not anytime soon.
I'm kind of surprised, though, that there's not a fathead of you yet at Moby, right? For them to move while people are doing their free throws.
Well, that's the thing. I am the fathead.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. All right. Well, if you had to tell, like, your fellow students, right, what is the best part about just getting to a game and going, right? If you had to sell them on, just come, what would it be?
If you go and are engaged, it can be one of the best environments you'll ever be in. I remember CU game, CSU basketball, or CSU CU basketball game, my freshman year. That game was one of the craziest environments I've ever been in. There was just so many people there. It was just an absolute blast. I mean, even with the opener of Canvas Stadium, that was a great environment too. And that's what it can be, just as long as everyone shows up, everyone participates, and everyone engages in it.
Now, do you feel, football, right? You know the rules, whatever, basketball, okay? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, as a fan, I mean, you're telling your fellow students to come. Are you saying just come, or like, because I know that's another excuse a lot of people have. Well, I don't know basketball, right? Or basketball's boring, right? And to me, I'm like, man, those last 5 minutes of last night's game was the most exciting. Yeah. I mean, it was stressful, right? It was. But it was exciting because it was like, what's going to happen, right? So do you feel like, hey, regardless if you know the rules, know what's going on, I mean, just come?
I mean, I feel like that definitely helps, and it's at least a start. I mean, coming to come is at least, you're there. You're supporting. And numbers help out a lot, because the more people there are, the more people will get engaged, and the more chaotic that environment will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, in the early 2010s, we had Tim Miles, and Moby was hopping for probably 3 or 4 years. A great deal. You were probably here as a young man in your formative years. But when Moby gets hopping, like when it's sold out or pretty close to sold out for most games, it is a tough arena to play in, even though it only holds 8,000 people, because it is loud, it is small, and the fans are right there onto the court.
Yeah, I mean, and it's even that way when there's 5,000 to 6,000 people just standing on their feet cheering. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know what the numbers were for the CU game this year in Moby, but I mean, that was loud and it wasn't sold out. I mean, just the potential of if, those basketball games get sold out. I mean, this team can do anything, I feel like.
Yeah, it's going to be a good team to watch the rest of the season.
All right, any other questions before we move on?
No. You want to take a quick break?
I did have one other question.
Okay.
So, the last week, I believe, 2 weeks ago, did you storm the court?
Oh, yeah. I've been waiting 3 years for something like that. I thought it was going to happen against Boise for the state pride game, which then was choked, but that's in the past. Yeah. That's in the past. But, yeah, I've been waiting 3 years to storm a court.
I will give you one piece of advice, okay? So maybe you're a little younger and you can bounce up from it, okay? But at Canvas Stadium, right, those walls are pretty high. They're a lot higher than you expect, okay? So I watched where we sit. Literally, a guy jumped over for the Alabama game.
Arkansas,
thank you. He jumped off, broke his leg right there. Fell onto the ground.
Oh, yeah, so how intoxicated was he?
I don't know if he was that.
To be
much,
fair, I watched a dude who's going to be a guest on our show at some point in the future jump from the New Belgium porch, which is
not that high,
3 feet. He jumped, landed on the field, and someone jumped on him and landed on his leg and broke his leg afterwards. So be careful when you're doing it. Don't be the first guy, because the first guy gets arrested.
Well, if you're going to be the first guy, you just got to be the fastest guy.
Yeah. I like that moxie.
That is one nice thing, though, about Moby, right? That they're not necessarily kicking you off or stopping you right away, right? But anyway. All right, guys, we're going to take a real quick break, and we'll be right back with you. All right, guys, we are back. So now we're going to talk about our, as usual, Fort Collins-ish topic. And this week, because we've got Cameron here, who lives pretty much on campus, right, and only has a bicycle around, we're going to talk about where to go here. Dinner on a college budget
or with no vehicle, or not having a vehicle.
Yep.
So stuff around campus that might be a little more for the price conscious out there, or we'll just call them poor college students. That's the demographic we're catering to tonight.
Yeah. So Cameron, what do you got? You want to lead us off here?
Most of the time, I just end up going so every 2 weeks. Luckily, my parents are gracious enough to be able to support me, so they give me money to go to the grocery store. So I just go to the grocery store every 2 weeks and pretty much just get food for the 2 weeks.
Wow.
Cook at home. But
nice work, Mom and Dad.
Every now and then, whenever I get paid from my job, sometimes I'll go out and get food, maybe like Pickle Barrel or Cane's or something like that, something close around town. But most of the time, it's pretty much just cooking food at home.
Cooking at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll go with your number one. So Pickle Barrel. So what is your go-to order at Pickle Barrel?
I do a build-your-own turkey with provolone and bacon. I'm a very plain guy when it comes to my sandwich, so.
That is fairly healthy. Yeah, good for you.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
right there, he said turkey. And on wheat, did you say?
White French.
White French. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
that's my favorite bread there, too. Yeah.
That's good there, too. Okay.
Okay.
So mine, and it's changed a little bit over the years. It's not as college budget friendly as it used to be, but it's still pretty budget friendly, I feel like. But number one, deepy dough.
Okay, that is if you're hammered at 2:00 in the morning and need your fix of 3 calzones.
No,
yeah.
I'll eat there any day, every day. I love that place.
Okay.
And the great thing is, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, I mean, I think they've got something like 30 different calzones, but you can mix and match anything. And they used to, years ago, let you bring in your own meat, and then they would cook it.
What?
Right? So if you had an elk, right, you had elk meat, you wanted it in a calzone, you could put it in there. So we did the math one time, and it was like 1,000,000-something different combinations you could have. It was
That's
great.
crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
deepy dough.
Yeah. Oh, fun times. I am going to go with, I'm going to start off pretty easy here. Mexicali burrito. It's probably just at the line of what you can probably ride your bike to down the Max Trail, or not the Max Trail, but the Power Line, whatever trail that is, right down there. And the reason I'm calling that affordable, because even though it's like a $10 dinner, cut one of those burritos in half and have the second half the next day.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of friends who like Mexicali, so.
Yeah. So I think I'd call that fairly cheap because it's $10, but cut it in half, use your student discount there for 20% off, and you can get out of there for under $10 with 2 meals. So I think that's a pretty solid option there.
Okay. You got any others, Cameron? You said your Cane's?
Cane's is always good as long as you're in the mood for it. But I mean, I like Pickle Barrel, Avos. I like Avos, although burgers there are a little bit expensive. So
that's almost more of just a splurge, but
Yes.
it's still close. It's right there by campus, right? So Avos, and I mean, I've never actually eaten there. Pretty good food,
I like it. Yeah, it's just $13 for a burger.
right?
But the rest of the sandwiches are really good there, and I actually had my I had my wedding reception there, V, on the patio back there.
Oh yeah,
You're an engaged man looking for some things.
yeah. That's not gonna fly.
When I tell you the price off the air, you might be able to talk your special lady friend into working it out, because
Maybe.
the price was definitely doable for my wife and I.
Okay. Am I up next?
Yes, sir.
So this one again, I mean, not necessarily a super poor college kid, but the way I was looking at it is, I remember liking this kind of place, even though it was a little more when I was in college, because of the amount and quantity of food that I would get. So then I was full for 2 days kind of thing, right? But Who Hut in Old Town, right? So you got your buffet and all you can eat.
Mongolian Grill.
Yep.
I'm not sure. Have you been to a Who Hot there?
I have not.
Mongolian Grill, you put whatever you want to in your bowl. They mix it up for you. It's all you can eat. So if you really want to sit there for 5-6 hours and really commit to it, you can make it through a lunch and a dinner there on $14.
They do change it now. I think you have a 2-hour max.
What?
But yeah. But back when we were in college, or right after when they first opened, you could sit there all day long and have as many bowls. And you're a young strapping lad there. You could probably put down some food, right?
It's pretty much dorm logic there.
Yeah.
Eat until you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
good one. I'm going for my next choice is whatever is in like the Campus Cash coupon book. I don't know if they still have the coupon books, but you will find like all sorts of ridiculous deals on the Campus Cash books for college students.
That's always a solid bet. That's where I get my haircut coupons from.
And let me guess, you use one every time you find a new campus.
Every time. I will go at the beginning of the semester and I will get like 8 to 9 of those Campus Cash booklets just to have 8 or 9 Great Clips coupons.
It's a good little book to have around.
Yeah, and you never know where you're going to find something for cheap.
Yeah.
Cameron, what else you got?
Always can go for Chipotle.
Okay.
I do like myself a Chipotle quesarito. There's
Okay.
no going wrong with that.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, just burrito wrapped in a quesadilla. I mean, what gets better than that? Cheese?
I've never had one of those.
I mean, your carb to dollar ratio there is pretty unbeatable with the amount of carbs you're getting out of that dollar you're spending.
Tell me about this. Tell me about this again.
Yes.
What is it?
It's a quesarito.
Okay.
So it's just like whatever burrito it is that you want, and they wrap or like make a quesadilla, unfold the quesadilla, and wrap the burrito in the quesadilla.
I'm trying to picture this. I'm
You're,
gonna have
you're
to.
using
As
your
if
hands to
Chipotle
try and build
burritos
this out.
weren't big enough.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Huh?
Do you think you could polish off a quesarito?
I don't
there,
know.
V,
I
in
might
one
have to go
sitting?
tomorrow and try it.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a fun
Well,
challenge for you.
and so it's funny because my next one's across the. Well, is it across the street? It's up the street and across the street, but big city.
Okay. Yeah.
Talking about a big burrito. Back when I was a kid, the Gut Buster.
Yeah.
Back when you're in college.
Cameron, have you eaten a big city before?
I've not.
It was the OG big burrito place in town before Qdoba, before Chipotle, before Mexicali. It was there. It's been there for longer than I've lived in town here. And
I think they were here originally back when the first fort in town.
oh,
got
absolutely,
founded.
yeah. It goes big city burrito first, CSU second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good solid choice, V. My next one I'm going to go with would be the signature one topping pizza from Blackjack Pizza when it used to be $3.99 for delivered pizza that you knew was not going to be high or quality. It was just a terrible pizza, but it would fill you up for under $5. I'm not sure what it is now, but I'm sure Blackjack still has some sort of really cheap one topping pizza option.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, Blackjack's good, but I've always preferred Papa John's over Blackjack. Just something about that garlic sauce and dipping the crust in it, just unbeatable.
Well, so cheap pizza, cheap pizza debate. So you go Papa John's is the pinnacle, the top of the mountain for that cheap pizza.
Oh, when it comes to cheap pizza, Little Caesars is the way.
I was going to say a little
$5 for whole
CC.
pizza.
Yeah.
Yep. And the breadsticks.
Oh God,
Crazy bread.
Yeah.
Especially if you get the crazy bread when it's fresh.
Yes.
If it's fresh, it's unbeatable. I mean, if you get it a little longer after it's been cooked,
You can't even really leave it in the fridge and the microwave it the next day.
You can't.
It just does not taste the same.
Even the pizza though, you have 5 minutes to eat it while it tastes good before it turns and spoils on you. Otherwise, you just can't. And maybe I'm an elitist now.
You're totally an elitist. You got to get back in this poor college kid mindset. So mine was going the kind of right down the road there, Cosmos. So Cosmos Pizza.
Cosmos.
You haven't had Cosmos either.
have not.
So Cosmos filled the place, and Pizza Casbah, I believe, we've talked about this too, does the giant large pizza. But back when we were in college, it used to be Pizza Pipeline, right? And so Cosmos does. It's like a 4-foot pizza, right? So 4 feet by 4 feet, and have to turn it to get through the door, and giant slices. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, there's two pizza places up here that college students go to. It's Crazy Carl's and it's Cosmos.
Yep.
That's everyone's, Friday night, Saturday night at 2 a.m.
Yep.
when you're.
I can hear Justin Michael yelling at us right now from somewhere, wherever he is, just screaming about the Cosmos conversation.
Yep.
So we're hearing you, Justin.
His ears are burning.
Yeah. Did I tell you that he and I are going to hang out at the Mountain West tournament? We're going for pizza in Vegas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he was going to show me good pizza.
Cosmos?
I don't think that's going to be the choice.
All right, Cameron, do you have any final choices of places in general, it doesn't necessarily even have to be on that budget, but, in town of places that you like to go or, you pick to.
I'm not sure if there is.
Okay,
maybe pot, but the thing that's just difficult is, I get food out rarely, so it's like whenever I get, it's like, oh, I've gotten out in, a week and a half. Chipotle sounds good this time.
Right.
I haven't had Chipotle.
See,
in
man,
like
that's
2
good.
weeks.
That's good. That as you know, again, props to mom and dad for hooking you up and helping you,
Yeah, they're
do
great.
that. Because I remember for me, it was definitely one of those things that I didn't necessarily cook at home that much when I was back in college. It was
Me either.
almost eat out all the time, or if I did, it was kind of my friends would come over and then we'd make a meal kind of thing. So that's awesome they do that. So let's put it this way, okay? Mom and dad are coming up tomorrow. Do you guys have a place you guys like to go?
Pickle Barrel.
Pickle Barrel?
That's always the go-to.
That's
yeah,
it.
That's just what the whole family
So
likes.
regardless of if there's a game, whatever, they're just visiting, they're taking you to Pickle Barrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much what most of the family agrees on.
Okay.
That's what my sister likes a lot. I mean, whenever I have like my mom or dad come up to either like pick me up and take me home, or just to come up for a sporting event, my sister's always like, "Bring me home Pickle Barrel. Bring me home Pickle Barrel." So.
And is she? So she's younger.
She's a senior in high school right
Okay.
now.
And is she gonna CSU or what's?
I'm not sure. I think she's leaning more towards Arizona.
Okay.
As long as you didn't say the place in Boulder, I think that's...
You would disown
okay.
her. Do you think your whole family would, or?
My dad has been very vocal about the fact that, it's her decision and he just wants her to, make the best choice for her. Whereas with me, I'm like, I just really hate CU. I don't want to see you go there. So, but I mean, yeah, no. I mean, she's her own person. She can do what she wants, and whatever it is, me and the family are going to support her. So
Cool.
Yeah, that's very supportive of you. You have anything? What's
So
up on your
Pickle
list,
Barrel.
V?
Yes, I do have one more. So this was one of the first places I ate when I came to town, but Hot Walk. So right there on Campus West as well, right on the north side, right down the road from Qdoba,
Yes.
right across from Jaws. And
Next door to Crazy Carl's for those youngins out there.
is that yes?
Yeah.
Yep. So Hot Walk, and they used to do a lunch. It was like $5.99. You'd get your entree with egg roll and your protein, and then fried rice and a soup for like $5.99. I don't know what it is now. I haven't been there forever, but
You're not going for breakfast wings with Michael Oakes?
right, no.
I got one more on my list also. It's whatever restaurant my sleazebag roommate is working at that week. I feel like I always lived with some dude who, in college, who worked at a restaurant, and they'd always bring home like food, whatever that was. I ate so much crappy food that was just terrible for you, but I was like, it's free. And he's not eating it.
Well, and that's how I fell in love with Big City. One of my buddies worked there, and he'd spoil us all the time. We'd go there and get $5 burritos, right, which should have been like $18 the way he made them, and then we used to sit in the back before they had a nice patio and everything, and we'd sit back there and drink beer and eat burritos.
yeah, I mean, it's just like anything in college. Free food's the best food. Just
Yeah.
like free shirts were the best shirts. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Cameron, you want to tell us, you want to move on to our next little
Yeah,
segment?
let's finish this off.
Okay, Cameron, you want to tell us one of your favorite CSU memories? I mean, you go back further than most students your age and people your age.
I mean, that's impossible to name just one. There's been so many over the years. I mean, a few off the top of my head. One's got to definitely be the last game of Hughes, carrying the goalpost on the field after. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, from the Nevada game, storming the court there just a few weeks ago. Homecoming against Utah State was another good one. Higgins catch at the 30-yard line with 5 seconds left, and Jared Roberts kicking the game-winning field goal, and then everyone just going crazy on the field. Another one, I don't remember if it was against Air Force or Wyoming, but there was a game that me and my dad just went to when I was younger. It was just a straight blizzard. I mean, it was just complete whiteout snow, just bad winds. Like, it was just even hard to see the field.
Was it at Hughes or was it at Air Force?
It was at Hughes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember which game. I think I remember being at that game, but I can't remember what game that was.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was against. I just remember that it was that game.
Okay. So you've been around the block a few times.
I have.
V, you want to do anything to close us out?
We want to thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it. It's good to get to know you a little bit and hear your perspective from a student and one of the biggest fans that CSU has. So we look forward to seeing you more and having you on the show again. Especially once you turn 21, we do have a different present for you. So we always give a gift to all of our guests. So because we had to change it a little bit, I'm going to keep this one, the other present for you. So once you turn 21, come back on the show, okay? But this one I've got for you. So again, kind of stick to our theme. I know that you mentioned, again, you don't really eat out, but you're going to go to this place, okay? So we got you a gift card to go to...
To go to where, V? Yeah, we can get it later. This is a radio show.
We got you a gift card to go to Stuffed Burger Bar in Old Town. Have you been there?
I have not, but that's because of the whole ride situation.
Well, you can get down there pretty easily. You know, take the Max down, or you can ride your bike there in a few minutes too.
Yeah.
We did an episode there a few weeks ago, and I think you're going to like what you're getting yourself into.
I do like myself a good burger. So.
I will just tell you this: avoid the milkshakes.
Yeah.
Why?
That will ruin any diet you have.
They're phenomenal. I'll show you a picture after this.
Yeah.
He'll burn that just taking a sip of it. Right?
Yeah.
So, thanks for coming on the show, Cameron. We really appreciate it.
Me.
Yeah. As always, do we have anything about iTunes and stuff?
Yeah, if you guys want to go out there, rate, review, and subscribe to the show. We put it out there last episode, and we are happy to do it again. Next person to review, give us an iTunes review, we will read it on the air, and we'll censor out anything we need to, but let's see what you all have to say. So
we do want to tell you guys, too, we just recently switched over to a different server, so just bear with us if our episodes aren't showing up on iTunes or wherever you find them. We are actually getting launched on other things, though, so you can find us on Spotify and then a couple other ones. So just bear with us. Give us a little bit of time. We'll definitely get these out there. So, but as always, I'm V.
I'm Harris.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Go Rams.
If you enjoyed this podcast, go ahead and subscribe on iTunes and give us a review. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Ramsanity Show and Twitter at Ramsanity Show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.